Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling and the podcasting empire right here on the TMPT feed. I am your host, JP John Poz, and today we'll be going right back into the AJ Styles well, and that well will never run dry because he's one of the greatest of all time. And today we're talking all about AJ Styles and his top 10 matches in TNA wrestling. Before we get to that, just a couple of plugs to throw out there. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Two Man Power Trip. Check out the website, patreon.com/TMPT Empire, and go to TeePublic, tpublic.com/store/TMPT. Get your TMPT gear, get your Hogan era gear, and get your era of the Hitman gear today. Now, as far as TNA wrestling is concerned, we're going to get to the top 10, and this was a hard one to do because he had, God, from 2002 to about 2013, basically 12 years of just amazing work, amazing matches. Hard to break it down to just 10. We'll have a couple honorable mentions as well, but man, please let me know whatever I miss, whatever I hit on, some others that you would have included in the list, some of the matches that you maybe wouldn't include in the list. Let me know. Hit me up in the DMs all about AJ Styles. So in the past, talking about Ring of Honor and AJ Styles' top 10 matches there. We talked about New Japan Pro Wrestling and his top 10 matches there. And of course, we talked about his WWE run and his top 10 matches there. Finally, here, kind of ending, maybe ending here on TNA Wrestling. When you think about his run here, it's just, man, like phenomenal. Obviously, the name, the gimmick, almost doesn't do it enough justice. He just was a Mount Rushmore guy. He's the guy you first think of when you think of TNA. He really put TNA on the map. He put the X Division on the map. And of course, he was more than that because he's a heavyweight champion, not only NWA world champion, but TNA world champion. He really carried the company for basically 12 years and had an amazing run. So to break it down into the top 10 matches probably doesn't do it justice and probably isn't enough. But I'm going to try my damnedest, and I'm going to try to break it down into a top 10. When you're looking at AJ Styles and you're looking at some of the greatest workers of all time, everyone always throws out there Bret the Hitman Hart. A lot of people throwing out there HBK Shawn Michaels. A lot of people, of course, throw out there the Nature Boy Ric Flair. When you think about the best ever, and I hate to throw his name out there to some people that are not going to want to hear it, but as far as in-ring is concerned, got to throw out Chris Benoit's name in there. Got to throw out a guy like Dynamite Kid and put his name out there. There's so many of the great Japanese talent. There's so many of the great Mexican talent. There's Eddie Guerrero, who a lot of people throw out there. There's, of course, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, who everybody throws out there. But I do feel like if you want to put somebody's name in the hat and you want to consider them one of the greatest of all time and one of the greatest in-ring performers, one of the greatest workers of all time, you have to include AJ Styles on that list. So let's break it down. Let's do some honorable mentions first. Top 10 AJ Styles matches in TNA. Do a little honorable mention. Let's talk about AJ Styles versus Chris Sabin versus Petey Williams Final Resolution. And it was an Ultimate X match back in 2005, January 16th, 2005. That Final Resolution paper, of course, was held at the Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. This Ultimate X match for the TNA Championship obviously was won by AJ Styles. He defeated Petey Williams to take the title. And, of course, like I mentioned, Chris Sabin as well. The match went about 20 minutes long. Just your kind of typical great X Division match with AJ pulling out some crazy bumps. That's not maybe the only Ultimate X match that I should have and could have put out there, but that's the one I kind of settled on here for the honorable mentions. What a cool different gimmick the Ultimate X was. It was really, you're basically using a ladder match, so to speak, but without using the ladder. So you got to get creative, you got to get crazy, and sometimes you got to take some crazy bumps and some crazy risks. But really, really fun match here back at Final Resolution 2005 for the X Division title. It was interesting too because AJ was kind of out of the X Division after creating basically and making the X Division famous. Then he would go after the world title, then back to the X Division title there in 2005. So it kind of an interesting run, but a fun one for sure. Speaking of 2005, speaking of Petey Williams, speaking about AJ, let's go 2005. Let's go towards the end of the year. Let's go PPV TNA Genesis 2005. Again, of course, Orlando, Florida at Universal Studios was on 11/13/2005. AJ Styles defended his X Division title and retained against Petey Williams. A little bit over 18-minute match there. Really fun. Really some good stuff between him and Petey Williams. They did have some good matches, by the way, especially one that I was at for Ring of Honor as well. So AJ and Petey Williams always had some good chemistry, even teaming up together in the Tokyo Dome. I know maybe some people don't remember that, but back in 2008 in the Tokyo Dome, teaming up with Petey Williams, Christian, defeating Milano Collection AT, Minoru, and Prince Devitt, a.k.a. Finn Balor. So just to throw that out there as far as some Petey Williams, AJ Styles history. And those are the honorable mentions. Let's go to the top 10. Let's talk about it, as your boy Trick Williams would say. Number 10, let's go TNA Bound for Glory. Guy that maybe surprisingly had great chemistry with AJ, although you could arguably say AJ always had great chemistry with everybody, but they always put on good matches. They always had fantastic matches. They even had a great last man standing match at Slammiversary 2011. They even had some great matches as AJ was kind of on his way out the door in 2013. One of his last matches, which was a title match on Impact, AJ beat Billy Ray. They had a good match at the Bound for Glory series. They just had a lot of great matches, and I feel like this possibly, to me, was their best. It was a no disqualification match. It was at Bound for Glory 2013 at the Vejas Arena in San Diego, California. This Bound for Glory was really AJ's Bound for Glory, as he defeated Bully Ray to win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Of course, that was held back on 10/20/2013. Over 3,000 in attendance there. Really fun match, really good match. And obviously that was the main event of the evening that night there for TNA. But good stuff from him and Bully always. And really just good stuff there that night. So that will fall at number 10. Number 9, let's go to a man I just mentioned not that long ago here. We're talking about Christian. At last, you're on your own. Christian Cage, as he had a great run in TNA and had a ton of great matches with the phenomenal AJ Styles. This one would be no different, as we're going back to 2006. We're talking about Genesis. Now I know there was a couple really good TNA matches you could probably put up there and throw out there for AJ. Of course, Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida, 11/19/2006. We're talking about Genesis 2006, as Christian Cage defeated AJ Styles in about 16 minutes. Really fun match, really good stuff. Maybe even, which is crazy to say, not the match of the night, which most cases would be, but obviously Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle had their first match, and great match that night. So maybe that kind of stole the show, but I really think Christian Cage versus AJ was excellent. One of my favorite matches of those two in TNA, and obviously enough to make the list here, because that's how good it is, and that's how good I think both these men are. As far as the next match, this was a match brought up recently, if you watched a video package for WWE that they put together for AJ Styles, and it was by Chris Park, a.k.a. Chris Park's brother. And we're talking about Lockdown 2005. We're talking about the number one contender match. We're talking about AJ Styles versus Abyss. Great stuff there. Just a awesome match. I'm sorry, NWA World Title match. I don't know why I'm saying it was a NWA World Title number one contender match. So not for the TNA titles, for the NWA World Title, and it was the main event that evening. Pretty crazy when you kind of think about it. It's like, man, you had so many big names on that card. Such a great show. Lockdown was really, the first Lockdown. It was the first time they're going to have every match in the steel cage. How can you leave people loving this pay-per-view, remembering this pay-per-view, wanting to see another one full of steel cage matches? And this was it. And this could arguably be higher on my list. This could arguably maybe be number one. It's just an awesome match. It was NWA number one contender for the title in a steel cage. Obviously, the Lockdown rules, all matches are in a steel cage. But AJ Styles defeated Abyss in 18 minutes. Abyss did say on the video to AJ Styles it was his best match and his favorite match. So a nice tribute to AJ on that one. It just felt like, man, what an awesome way to kind of, end a card where you kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. I don't know how many times we should see this, or should Lockdown even exist? And you really kind of had to make a name for it right then and there. And how do you do? Of course, you do it with AJ Styles, and then more than great willing opponent in Abyss. Just awesome stuff from those two. Love the chemistry. Big, kind of like your classic big man, little man match, but man, just a great match. Go out of your way to see that one. That could easily be higher on the list. But there are so many other great ones, including this one, we're going to Against All Odds. This was just one of those, man, this was the barn burner, if you will. Just great stuff. And this isn't the only kind of Iron Man match that these two would have together. They would have another 30-minute Iron Man match at Bound for Glory, which I also loved as well, with AJ defeating Christopher Daniels in 30 minutes, 1-0. That was at Bound for Glory 2005. This one, I liked it a little bit better. I got to put a little bit higher on the list. It's funny, it's a 30-minute Iron Man match, but you got to go to overtime. You got to, have one more fall in there to get the winner, because it was tied 1-1 at the end of 30 minutes. They go to the overtime. They go to the last fall, and AJ defeated Daniels 2-1. And that was, of course, TNA Against All Odds, Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida. That was 12/13, 2005. Against All Odds pay-per-view. That was for the TNA X Division Championship. AJ Styles retains his title in that 30-minute Iron Man match, going to overtime. Great stuff there. And was so good with Christopher Daniels that they had to have a rematch again and do it again at Bound for Glory later on that year. And AJ retains his, again, 1-0 in 30 minutes. Really fun stuff. Really, really good stuff. I love their chemistry. I love their feud. And I could put maybe every Daniels match that they had on this list. That's how great these two were together. That's how great the chemistry was. And maybe a little bit of a spoiler here. There will be a Daniels match later on, as I'll be talking about. But speaking of guys that could be on this list a million times, and guys that could be on this list over and over and over, man, AJ Styles and Kurt Angle had some unbelievable matches, had some unbelievable chemistry. Man, they wrestled excuse me here. They wrestled a ton. If you really kind of go back and really look at the career, I mean, we're talking about like 100 matches or so against each other. I mean, it is crazy, whether it's in TNA or maybe sprinkle in some New Japan in there as well, whether it's WWE as well. They did have a match in WWE. It's just one of those things where sometimes you're kind of made for each other, if you will. Guys from two different worlds colliding, just awesome stuff, just absolutely barn burner matches. They were just, I don't know, just hard to describe it, but it's just, man, just pure athleticism, great chemistry, fireworks, just great stuff from these guys. And the thing is, when you look at their matches, I could literally pick, out of those 100 matches that they had together in TNA, and even more than that, I could pick so many matches, and it was hard to settle in on one. But I'm going to settle in. I'm going to settle in 2010, and I really enjoyed this match. I know a lot of others enjoyed it as well. But Genesis 2010 pay-per-view from Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida, 1/17/2010. This was for the TNA World Heavyweight title. AJ Styles retained the world title in about 29 minutes, defeating Kurt Angle that night in the main event. What a way to kind of kick off, not really kick off, but put an exclamation point on the year of 2010 as you're kicking off that year, with AJ Styles as the World Heavyweight Champion and defeating Kurt Angle in an awesome match. Like I said, I could pick a bunch of those matches if I really wanted to. Next up is a favorite of mine, and I know a lot of people did kind of get surprised by this one, just as far as AJ really pulling something out of Sting here, really having an awesome match. They've had some other good ones that they were a part of together as well, whether Turning Point back in 2008. There's a bunch of other good ones that I really enjoyed, but this one really stuck out to me. You thought Sting was going to retire, oddly enough, in this one, just by the post-match promo and everything else, but he actually doesn't retire here at the end here. So this was at the Brand Event Center in Irvine, California. TNA Bound for Glory 2009. 10/18/2009. AJ Styles retains his TNA World Heavyweight title, defeating Sting in 14 minutes. Nice crowd on hand. Great main event. And again, you kind of thought this might be the end of Sting. You might kind of think it might be his retirement, but it was not. He will obviously not retire until AEW about 12 years later, oddly enough, but crazily, well, not even 12 years. My God, it was 14 years later, pretty much, or 13 years later that Sting would finally retire. And AJ, crazily enough, would retire not soon thereafter that. And obviously, there's a big age gap there. But AJ and Sting, AJ, you could say, carried Sting a bit to a great match, but one of those things where I think they just had great chemistry. And oddly enough, like I said, Sting does not retire after this one. Really fun stuff, though, really good stuff. And you kind of thought that might be leading to the end of Sting in TNA, but it was not. He would go on for a few more years there. Now, as far as this match, boy, this match easily could have been number one on my list. I absolutely love this match. Maybe the best match they had in the ROH episode. I talked about Samoa Joe in the WWE episode. I talked about Samoa Joe. They've had some awesome matches. What a feud. Kind of, sort of, if you want to throw it out there, they've been a part of over 200 matches together. So that is freaking that is a ton. That is a lot. That is, you're married to somebody. That's just absolutely insane. Great chemistry, though, between these guys. And I could put a ton of matches that these guys had together. I mean, it's just crazy how many matches that these guys had that I could put up there and put on the list, no matter where it was or what promotion, whether it be ROH, the Indies, WWE. These guys just put together some awesome stuff. I absolutely love their feud. And this is probably my favorite match. It's TNA Turning Point 2005, Universal Studios, Orlando, Florida, 12/11/2005. That big pay-per-view, Samoa Joe defeats AJ Styles to win the TNA X Division Championship, and he does it in about 19 minutes. Really fun stuff. Really just awesome stuff that night from those two. Arguably, you want to throw it out there. I know Jared Rhino had a great match, and that was the main event. Arguably should have maybe been the main event that night. Just, man, if that's not a 5-star match, it was damn sure close to it. I know that. Just awesome chemistry, hard-hitting brawl. To me, maybe the best match that these two had against each other. Just excellent stuff there. Now let's go old school. Let's go all the way back. Let's throw it back in TNA history. Let's go to 2002. If you want to talk about, man, just like laying the groundwork for TNA wrestling, if you want to talk about how you can put the X Division on the map, if you want to talk about how you could really put your stamp on something and have people order the pay-per-view for $9.99 a week every Wednesday night on pay-per-view, how the heck can you pull that off? How can you do that? You give them great wrestling, you give them great wrestlers, and you throw out there guys that would just tear the roof down. And that's these three guys. And I'll talk about them again, but right now, just these three: AJ Styles, Low Key, Jerry Daniels, Jerry Lynn, excuse me. And I know I'm thinking about Christopher Daniels. I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but Jerry Lynn, AJ Styles, Low Key, just awesome stuff from these guys. Awesome chemistry. Absolutely love it. This match, and I could talk about a bunch of their matches, but I'm going to talk about 8/7, 2002. Total Nonstop Action pay-per-view number 8 at the Fairgrounds in Nashville, Tennessee. Low Key defeated AJ Styles, who was the X Division champion, and Jerry Lynn in a 3-way to win the title. So Low Key wins that title. There's also another awesome match between these guys, which is a ladder match, which Jerry Lynn defeated AJ Styles and Low Key to win the X Division title. So there's just some great stuff here. I'm going to say not the triple ladder match, even though that's awesome. I'm just going to talk about the regular 3-way, which was just excellent stuff from these guys. Just absolutely love it. Awesome chemistry. And we know AJ and Jerry Lynn had awesome chemistry in some one-on-one matches against each other as well. And even those three teaming up against the Flying Elvises was a lot of fun. Jimmy Yang, Jorge Estrada, and Sonny Siaki at the first ever TNA Total Nonstop Action pay-per-view. And really, the number one match, the first match out there as well. So awesome stuff. A lot of fun from these guys. Next up, continuing, but I'm going to add one more name to the list. So I talked about Jerry Lynn versus AJ Styles versus Low Key. Now I'm going to say Jerry Lynn versus AJ Styles versus Low Key versus Psychosis, the second pay-per-view for TNA Wrestling, which is at the Probst Arena Von Braun Center in Huntsville, Alabama, 6/19. 2002 is when it was taped. Obviously aired 6/26/2002. This was a 4-way, a double elimination for the vacant TNA X Division Championship. This really put the X Division on the map. Special guest referee, of course, was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. AJ Styles defeated Jerry Lynn, Low Key, and Psychosis in about 26 minutes to win the vacant X Division title and really put NWA TNA on the map. All right, I think you saw this one coming. I think you know what it is. The number one match from AJ Styles in his TNA run, perhaps the best match ever in TNA history. I know kind of every other TNA match after this was kind of shooting, to be as good as this. This was a ton of fun. At the time, you kind of didn't know what you were going to get as far as was this going to be an unbelievable matchup or not? And it was. It's just one of the greatest matches, if not the greatest match in TNA history. We're going all the way back to 2005. We're talking about Unbreakable, and we're talking about the three-way match with AJ Styles defeating Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe to win Christopher Daniels' X Division title. This three-way match went about 23 minutes long. Of course, the Unbreakable pay-per-view was at the Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, back on 9/11/2005. Just an awesome match. Was the main event that evening over the Raven Rhino NWA World Title match. I have a feeling that they knew, Dusty and company and Jared and company knew what they were getting from this main event and knew it would blow the roof off and knew it would be awesome. And even AJ Styles has mentioned this in an interview that they may have even went home a little bit early and went a little bit unscripted with some of the match there. So kind of just one of those awesome matches. You could say once in a lifetime when you put guys together, but they did have a rematch in 2009 at Turning Point, and it was awesome too. So I don't think it was quite as good as this match. This was just perfect. This was perfection. This was a 5-star match. No doubt about it. So that's AJ winning back the X Division title back in 2005 at Unbreakable. So there you go. There you have it. The top matches in the run of AJ Styles in NWA TNA, in TNA wrestling. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did I hit on? What did I miss on? Hit me up in the DMs and let's talk about it. So AJ Styles in TNA wrestling. What a freaking run. Magical stuff there. Like I said, the Unbreakable match gotta be considered the best. So let's wrap up this bad boy. Head towards your plugs. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, patreon.com/TMPT Empire. And go to TeePublic, tpublic.com/store/TMPT. Thank you, everybody, for listening. See you right back here next time for the 2Man Power Trip. Have a